All right, welcome everyone to Metro Space School webinar series. This week we are going to be focused on the rise of the chicken. We're going to be taking a look into how to keep up with the growing demand for chicken. We're seeing more and more existing concepts added to their menu, especially breaded chicken, as well as some new chicken concepts popping up. So presenting today will be our chicken charge, Nancy Farah, as well as Heath Taylor, our chicken prognosticator. So we've been bringing in outside experts, but we feel we have one of the industry's leading experts in chicken production. So Heath is going to take it from here.
Thank you, Nancy. So as Nancy said, chicken chains are busier than ever. As you can see here, the segment sales, they gained 9.9% last year, and in unit increase is 2.3%. The chicken segment is one of the fastest growing QSR segments that we have. So I hope everyone remembers the chicken Twitter wars of 2019. It was quite funny and quite comical. But they also paid off very well, and it paid off for all the chicken chains. As you can see here, before the pandemic, Popeye's visits, were up 63.5%. Even during the pandemic, it was still up 6.9%. And also your Chick-fil-A, KFC, Wendy's, and the others also reported solid sales during this as well. So who's not missing out on the chicken wars? So as you can see here, almost everyone is coming out with a chicken sandwich if they haven't already. You also even see McDonald's is going to add one next year. QSR sales for the breaded chicken sandwich hit $2.5 billion last year. So what do QSRs need to be successful with chicken? A more efficient overall process. So we're going to kind of dive into the processes here on the right, and we're going to kind of talk a little bit about storage, tempering, breading, cook, and assemble. So let's talk about storage. So this happens to be freezer storage. So obviously everyone knows that refrigerated space in the back of a restaurant is premium. So obviously, space is always going to be an issue. So it's all about how can you utilize the space that you have the most efficient way. So one of the questions that I'll typically ask is how many cases of chicken do you need between deliveries? Sometimes they just say, I want it everywhere, but that's not really the right answer. The right answer is to, try to figure out how many do you need, and we make sure that we utilize that space for it. So in my mind, what I typically find that works best is more of what is called a horizontal style instead of vertical. Some call it the library style. And then obviously I like using smart lever because without the front post, you'll get a better capacity out of a small space. So now let's talk about tempering. I guess I should say that all chicken chains are going to get their chicken delivered in two ways. It's either going to be frozen or it's going to be fresh. If it comes in frozen, then the pictures that we just looked at is, what you're going to line your freezer walls with. But then they have to transfer it into the cooler or a cabinet so that it can go through a tempering process, which just basically means thaw or frozen to fresh. So to do this process, whether they're getting it frozen or fresh at this point, it's going to come in a box, and they're going to open the box up, and then they're going to take the chicken out of the box, and they're either going to put it into pans or containers. And depending on whether they put it in the pans or containers kind of dictates what, I like to do as far as trying to recommend a shelving for them. As you can see at the top of this page, Super Erective Pro is a lot of times where I start out. In my opinion, this is a very good shelving unit to start out with. One is as you can see in the picture, you can pop the mats off so they're very easy to clean. But also, no matter what kind of pan, whether it's metal or polymer pan, the mat protects the finish on the shelving. So I find that it works a lot better than just standard wire shelving. And then if you want to kick it up another notch, then look at the Metro Max I. Sometimes when you're working with the chicken chains, they're going to say that they have condensation or juice that drips out of the pans or containers a lot. And so with the Metro Max I and you putting the drip tray, and under it, that's going to give them a better and cleaner cooler. And so I think that's going to help them tremendously. And then on the right side of the page, now some chicken chains actually will have to move the chicken from building to building, not just in the restaurant. So when I work with a chain that does something like that, then we get into the non-powered C54 cabinets. Not only are they enclosed, but they do a very good job of holding temperature, so you know that the chicken has been held at the right temperature until you get to your location. So now let's kind of talk about a breading process. Every chain has their own way to do breading, but there's always going to be some things that you always are going to have no matter which chain you're working with. So if you look at these two pictures here, one is on the left side, that's a smart lever workstation, and you can see that's rather large. But if you have a small space or even want it mobile, we can also do an SES mobile cart that could still do a breading process in case it's not their main menued item or it's only needed for so many hours a day. And also we have to remember that the breading area is still a raw product. So anything that is used in the process of the breading needs to be stored around it and stay in that area. You can't transfer over to the cooked area or anything like that. So some of the things that I typically see is listed there in the middle of the page, but every chain is going to have a type coater that they use. And so obviously you're going to have cases of coater that you need to store around this area. Also, you're going to have some type of sifting basket, pans, gloves, and each chain will have some other things that you'll have to find a home for, but it is important that they stay in that area. So now let's kind of talk about assembly. So the assembly process is basically, where they're going to make the sandwiches before they go out to the front counter. So same as I said about the breading area, you're going to have a certain certain amount of things that you have to find a home for. Typically, it's going to be things like refrigeration, bread racks, wrap paper, condiments, and things like that. And what I'm trying to show with these two pictures here is we can make them large or small. They don't have to be that large, but we can really compact the space very well to make sure that the employee can stay in a 36 to 48 inch radius and do everything that they need when they're going through their peak periods. So some of the key products that we'll go over, that in my opinion that makes very good chicken stations. The Super Erecta heated shelf workstation here, if you look at the picture in the middle and then to the left, this is a very accurate thing of what you would see in the back of a restaurant. The one thing that I would say in the back of the restaurant that you would see that we don't have in this picture is you see how the three-sided frames go around the bottom. There's typically going to be a refrigeration unit or maybe even some other heated holding units up and under this thing. But if you will roll your equipment up and under this workstation with our hot heated shelves up above, this is a great way, in my opinion, to do a catering program or something like that. And then on the right side of the page, you see the smart lever multifunction workstation. Again, if you could visualize, this could be a catering process. So you could have your bags stored there on the left, and you could actually be, making the sandwiches as the young lady is doing on the left side of the page there on the work surface. So again, this is a very versatile piece that could kind of fit in all kinds of applications. Some more products when you get into the transport, storage, and delivery. As I'd said before, Metro Super Erecta Pro is kind of my shelving of choice. I think it does a great job. It's very easy to clean, and it also protects from the pan wear that we sometimes see happen out in the field. And again, in the middle, the C54 cabinet, if you get into transportation, going from one building to the other, this is a great way to do it, and you can assure that your chicken has stayed at the right temperature the whole way through. And then we kind of touched a little bit on catering. And obviously Mighty Light is the best thing, you know, for the catering process. Not only, as you can see, you can stack it here, but we have front load and top load. And this is a great way, whether you're doing third-party delivery or your own delivery, you know, a lot of your chains will do it both ways. But this is a great product that will help you. And it's also very easy to load because most of your chains are probably going to have more of a van instead of a big, huge truck.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Heath? I want to thank Heath very much. He spends a lot of time figuring out ways for people to make their chicken better, so we appreciate that. And we wanted to mention some of the upcoming webinars we have going into 2021. The next one's going to be on January 21st. We're going to suggest you just stop staring at the wall and tap into some of that unused space. Anyone out there has any examples of how they're using their wall space creatively with some Metro or issues that they're having? We'd love to hear from you. And then if you have any questions, you can always feel free to ask them in the chat while the calls are going on, but please take the time to email us and we'd be happy to follow up with you and send the information out to the group because we're sure there's probably more than just yourself wondering the same thing. So thank you everyone for your time and have a happy holiday.